You're listening to the I Do Crew podcast with Jen and Emma. This week we're talking all things embarrassing moments. So I popped I popped the question, I think, on our at Like and Lights story because we've got a slightly bigger following on there. So I thought I'd get a few more responses. And the responses are outrageous.
Oh,
So
I am so excited. So I haven't seen many of these. I purposely haven't looked. So I, I'm quite excited to find out what people are saying.
I cannot wait to see your reaction on most of these.
There might
I
be a, there might be a lot of like be going, I think. If you can't see, if you're listening on the podcast and not watching on YouTube, I've just pulled a series of embarrassed faces.
cringe faces, I would call them.
Yeah, that's them.
And what's your most embarrassing moment at a wedding? Let's start there first.
Um, so I was thinking about this. I've been fairly lucky that I haven't been to any weddings really where you've actually sat in your seat and sort of cringed. There's one at my wedding I can think of, and there's one at a wedding that I've been a guest at, and I've been part of both of them. So maybe I'm the problem, maybe not. So the first one was, I've actually talked about this on the podcast before, but I was doing my first dance with my dad, and my garter fell off from around the top of my thigh, fell off on the floor, and my dad kicked it across the floor. Like that's just so embarrassing. And everybody was like, oh, you know, oh, all the things to like fall off.
Do you think that was your dad's just natural reaction to, oh, something's dropped on the floor, kick it,
No,
way?
it was completely oblivious to the whole thing. He was 5 beers in, and he was just doing his side step and sort of flinged it across the floor, which made it sort of skid and pick up speed. So people's eyes darted towards it. If it had just sort of stayed around our feet, I don't think people would have noticed. But the fact that he sort of lobbed it across the floor with his foot and it sort of went spinning, so embarrassing.
I'm
And
getting like secondhand embarrassment for you because I just can't. I would just
yeah,
no.
soon after that, I sort of went and grabbed my mum for a dance, like finished the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one I thought of when I was a guest at a wedding, and it was um at a Scottish wedding. We're in this big castle, and we're at the table on the back. We're really at the rowdy table, and we were absolutely plastered. And come 10 o'clock, at the front of this big castle was this huge fountain that was all uplit. It was beautiful. Our table was in the fountain, climbing up to the top, and we got chased away by security.
Oh shit.
But what was more funny was that wedding, they actually got divorced, and then the bride got married a second time, and that exact same table was at the second wedding. We were all like a bit older and a bit more reserved at that wedding, but we got all placed on exactly the same table right at the back again. So we definitely made a name for ourselves.
I wouldn't say that the fountain extravaganza was embarrassing. I would say that that's legendary.
Well, it is, yes.
None of mine I could even share on this podcast, I decided, because they are way too embarrassing to ever speak of ever again.
Not just one.
I just can't even, I don't know, because they're mainly things that I have done that are
Mm.
never to be spoken of ever again. I do remember one wedding. Um, I'll tell you part of the story. I'm not telling the whole story because it's terrible, terrible. Um, but it was one of my really good friends, Charmaine's sister's wedding, and there's quite a lot that happened at this wedding. I think because so I was Charmaine's plus one, so she was a bridesmaid. So I ended up rocking up at this church all by myself, thinking absolutely fine. I was really confident in what I was wearing, like a took the time to get ready, and I really felt like I'm absolutely fine being alone. Thought, "Oh, this man looks quite nice." Went and sat next to him, who was clearly sat with his partner, just started sort of chit-chatting, "Oh, how do you know the bride and groom?" Blah, 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 because 'cause I'd never seen him before. He then basically told the entire wedding party that some girl had come and sat next to him at the church and was trying it on with him. I don't have any friends, pal, because my friends are in the wedding.
That's
I'm good.
that's hilarious. You become
This
stalker girl.
Yeah, I don't even, just sometimes boys baffle me, but equally not surprised. The same wedding, so the outfit that I was wearing, you couldn't wear a bra. So if you're basically listening to this episode and you normally have your kids in the car or whatever, I would highly recommend you do not listen to this any further in the company of small children or like my parents. Um, so the outfit that I was wearing, you couldn't wear a bra. So obviously I mean, that might have been where he was coming from. Like, this braless, crazy, chatty woman's come and sat next to me at a church. It was literally the three of us on an aisle. Him, his partner, and me. Um, and as the night went on, obviously I was drinking a lot because I think I was probably, I don't know, mid to late 20s, having the best night ever. It was a wedding. I was celebrating with a really, really close family friends. My best friend was there. She was a bridesmaid. We were just having a great time. And as the night went on, I'd obviously taped myself into the dress because I wasn't that confident and not have anything secure. And as the night had gone on, the where I was dancing and just having a great time, the dress was sort of slipping to one side, and the tape was revealing itself. Just ever so slightly, every few hours, a little bit more fabric would be moving across the tape. And where I had tanned, the tape obviously didn't have any tan underneath. So it was like strips of sellotape, but white, because the rest of my body was really tanned.
So not
So
a where you what I'm assuming, like showing all your bits to everybody. You had big white strips.
yes,
Point.
but in my defense, in the church, I was wearing a blazer.
So when you got accused of chatting him up, you were covered.
Yeah,
7 hours later, you were letting it all hang out with big white
different story.
and yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
and that's all I'll say on that wedding. Um, So, I have actually numbered these. There are 16 that I have gathered of people's embarrassing moments. And honestly, some of them are outrageous, but also very entertaining. So, if you are a couple planning their wedding and you're worrying about all the things that could go wrong, here are some examples of what have already gone wrong and are now excellent content for the podcast. So, silver lining, and do not worry, because you can't control everything. Okay. Uh Number one. I'm going to be reading them as they've been sent to us, and all of them are anonymous because I didn't want to. Well, I don't want to share any of mine, so I thought it would be hypocritical if I then shared everybody's names and locations. So the first one is, we went to a wedding once. One of the groomsmen had on a rented suit, tried to do some break dancing, and split his trousers.
I mean, that is very embarrassing for him, but pretty standard. I mean,
Ew.
I haven't actually been anywhere where it's been like a big sort of comical rip, but I've seen ripped trousers, ripped suits. I think men tend to buy their suits too small these days too, so it makes it even easier because
I also don't think that they sit down when they try them on.
no, they don't.
You're going to be sat in this for quite a long time, either in the ceremony, in the wedding breakfast. Like, sit, guys. If you're trying or renting your suits, even grooms, if you're going to try your suit on, sit down.
Yeah, sit down, maybe do a few lunges.
Make sure that you're party ready.
And wear nice boxers just in case.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine if he wasn't wearing boxers? I mean, the
Or
breakdancing.
Peppa Pig ones.
Yeah. Next one. So this one comes in from somebody who has previously planned or managed weddings at different venues. So I once managed a wedding where the mother of the groom had been married 5 times. 4 out of the 5 husbands were in attendance at this wedding. A groomsman ended up introducing one of the husbands as the groom's dad. Another man then turned around and said very loudly across the bar, "No, he isn't. I am. That's his stepdad, and I'm his actual father." The entire bar fell silent.
Dear. That's family politics out on show there, isn't it?
But also, fair play to the mother of the groom because 4 out of the 5 husbands were there.
Yeah. How did that absolutely blows my mind. I mean, the drunker they get, the more rowdy they get. The
Yeah. I think this was quite early on in the wedding too, so
Yeah.
like ceremony's finished, everyone's having their welcome drink. Get your welcome drink from the bar. Oh, groomsman, yes, this is the father of the groom. No.
Get
Oh,
straight, mate. I
I'm terribly sorry.
this child, not you.
Oh God. I know we talk about her quite a lot, but our good friend Tyler, she when we used to work together, she went through this phase where she would introduce people before they had the opportunity to introduce themselves. And 9 times out of 10 got it completely wrong every single time. And she was hosting a volunteer event where she'd invited volunteers to come and help complete a task. And she was expecting a mother and a daughter. So this woman was walking up the stairs with another older woman walking behind her. She said, "Oh, is your name blah, blah, blah?" She was like, and then she said to the woman behind, "Oh, and is this your mum?" "No, I don't know who that is. And my name's whatever her name was." She's like, "Oh, my mistake. Just let the people introduce themselves.
Yeah,
Just say, and what's your name? Don't guess. Just let them tell you."
bless her.
Speaking of which, after making the brownie tower for the couple's wedding cake, and after many glasses of prosecco, I noticed not many people had eaten my epic brownies, so decided to hijack the mic from the DJ and announce the brownies on the cake. And announced that the brownies were on the cake table to the entire wedding reception. I later noticed I'd packed some remaining brownies into my clutch bag and was later told I dropped the entire contents in the taxi on the way home.
That taxi was my car. I'm not letting her get away with that one.
Yeah.
Because I was there for that event, and it was absolutely hilarious. Just some, if you can just imagine, staggering women, like quite eagerly, I would say, snatching that mic and announcing those brownies. It was
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious. And then but it worked because you saw people like over there to get the brownies out of fear.
Yeah. Yeah. She had also been the one checking in with the bar staff. Should we start handing out these prosecco drink as welcome drink? Yeah, yeah, we're going to do that in a minute. Do you want me to take the tray out? No, no. You just enjoy the wedding. Yes, but I need to make sure that everything is going to plan. We can hand the drinks out. It's okay. Thank God for friends like that. Is all I'll say.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. At a friend's wedding recently, one of the groom's uni friends started chatting me up, unknown to him that I am already married. I later told my husband when we had got back to our room about it, and the details of what had been whispered in my ear by said uni friend. Quite rightly, my husband was fuming and ran downstairs in his pajamas at 2 a.m. to have it out with the uni friend. I mean, there was more detail on what was whispered in the ear, but I didn't think that it was appropriate to share.
No. All I can envision is a really drunk guy in a pair of blue and white striped pajamas, like full on pajamas, like cotton button up pajamas, storming down into a posh hotel reception, like bar area, and screaming at the top of his lungs. That's what I can. It's like hilarious.
Also, in those kind of situations, I tend to drop in things like, "Oh yes, yeah, enjoying the wedding here with my husband," or "Oh, yeah, I think you'd get on really well with my husband. He's just over there at the bar getting the drinks in."
Yeah, I don't think the whisperer was probably that interested though.
By the untold version, yes, he was interested in one very specific
Yeah,
act.
yeah, I meant interested in who is whispering to, but not interested that she was married.
Oh yeah, no, probably couldn't care less. Okay. My sister went to a wedding, and the best man reminded everyone in his best man speech about the groom previously cheating on his now wife.
Oh my god, literally just made me like ick out. That is so bad. I mean, last week we talked about the best man speech, about how they can be absolutely epic, and you have to sort of sometimes tether on the edge of it not being appropriate for it to be really funny. That was like a jump overboard.
I don't even know where. Oh, yes, me and Jonathan have been best friends since we were at school. Remember those great times we had? Oh, and everyone remembers when you were cheating on your now wife. Ha 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 ha. Uh,
Here's Sandra to tell the story.
More like a "this is your life" speech. I just that's actually quite a good idea for other people, definitely not my one.
I mean, if you were a guest at that wedding, you would have. It would have been one of them moments where it was quite funny, but in that really awkward, cringy, like, what do we do here? This is a moment where we're either going to laugh or cry.
I would have been looking at the entire top table's faces, I think, and then getting out Instagram Live and filming the whole thing for future reference.
Yeah.
Terrible. Because they've obviously come to terms with, you know what, even if you did cheat on me, we've moved past that. And now I've accepted that you are who you are and we are going to get married. I don't want to be reminded of that on my wedding day during the best man speech.
And all the people that didn't know that that happened is now looking upon their relationship with a completely different light, aren't they?
I
No,
would be livid.
I don't think I would be able to contain my lividness. I think I would have got up, smacked him in the face.
I think I would have paused for a moment, got up, and left.
You would have left.
Or just,
I would have chose violence, I think.
I think it's a fight or flight scenario.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is quite a long one. As a groom's as a groomsman was running late for the wedding, he picked up two different shoes. One was black and the other brown. He ended up having to go to town to find a pair that matched. As he was rushing back to the venue, he missed the bend and his car went flying into a field. He decided to leave the car and ran to the ceremony. On arrival at the ceremony, he asked the wedding coordinator, in brackets me, so this is the person who's written into us, asked the wedding coordinator to rescue his car, which resulted in it being pulled out by a tractor. The wedding coordinator then drove the car into the venue, not realizing how loud it was, as it was basically wrecked, while the couple were getting married outside. All you could see in the background, mid-ceremony, was the groomsman's total car being dragged into the venue car park by the tractor.
And him having odd shoes on.
Well, he'd sorted that out. He'd gone to town to buy his new shoes and then crashed his car.
I mean, my immediate reaction to that was good on that groomsman for making sure he was there. The secondary is just leave the car totaled until after the ceremony and go sort it out later.
As a wedding coordinator, expecting what kind of questions you're going to get throughout the day, all the questions you've ever got in the past. Yeah, I've just actually crashed my car pretty badly. I've just run to the reception, as you can tell, because I'm fucking sweating. Um, could you just go get the car while we do the ceremony?
Also, on your clipboard of all the things that could go wrong, that's not on there, is it?
What if you'd handed the wedding over to like your a second in command? Oh, by the way, yeah, everything's in place for tomorrow. These are all the suppliers. This is the running order of the day. Blah 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 blah. You were in with the caterers, so you know what the food's going to be. These are the timings. You've got this stuff, all these staff members coming. It's a team that we've worked with before. I'm just not going to be here. Okay, yeah, great, yeah. Oh, could you just go and steer the car back on the back of a tractor? No. Just a bit busy coordinating the wedding.
I mean, say yes. So,
She did say yes. I think
idiot.
if it had been the groom, it may have been a different story, but I don't think I would. I'd be like, yeah, yeah, we'll go get your car in a minute. No, not getting his car.
In my head, I've got the picture of this little, souped up Clio that has got like
Mm,
buttons and a sound system just being dragged in backwards.
with its spoiler dragging along the gravel pathway.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Next one.
Yep.
I once nearly burnt the aisle down after kicking over one of the candles on the way to find my seat.
Oh no. I mean, I can completely see this happening because candles are more and more popular now, and you've got all the flammable chair sashes and people's dress. Oh God, that could have been horrendous.
Yeah,
Jesus.
they just kicked it over. The whole fucking aisle's on fire, guys.
Mayday. You could just imagine the stylist running around trying to savour things to put it outside because the church is on fire.
Honestly.
Watch where you're stepping, people.
As the bride and groom were having their photographs standing on a bridge in the middle of the beautiful venue grounds, the swans had a different idea of how their day should have gone. Chased them away from the location, and the pictures had to be put on pause.
I mean, they would have made some good pictures, they wouldn't they? The bride and groom running wet.
Snapping away. It's like it's not quite the same, but basically if you're in Jurassic Park and everything's being photographed as you're like running away, I think it would have been great.
Swans are scary.
Mm,
So it is a bit like Jurassic Park because they're really, and when they hiss at you. So if you imagine that what's a collective of swans called? Gaggle. I think that's
gaggle is geese.
geese, yeah. A swanage of swans
Yeah.
just running after you. And you can't walk in your stupid shoes that you've picked, and nightmare. But that is the kind of things that memories are made of, though, isn't it?
I think so too. The next one, not so much. My mother and the mother of the groom ended up wearing the same dress on my wedding day. My future mother in law had shown me her dress a few months before our big day, but I was too terrified to tell her it was the same as my mother's.
I mean, that is bad enough that they turn up with the same dress, but for you to know and not do anything about it is awful.
Oh yeah, that's the same as my mum's. No, I'm not going to tell you though. But I'll rather watch the car crash happen in front of my eyes on my wedding day.
I mean, if that was me showing up with the same, if I was the mother of the bride and I was, you know, turning up in the same dress, I would completely say, right, this is we've planned this, yeah. This is the thing we've decided to do, and completely go with it. I mean, that is so unlikely, isn't it?
What are the chances?
I know even where like even at weddings, people wearing the same thing is very, very uncommon, isn't it?
I just find it so funny that obviously this whole thing of like in my mind, there was a whole discussion between the bride and her future mother-in-law, and they're, oh, this is what I'm thinking of wearing. Let me go and get it for you so you can see what it's. I just think it's stunning. You're gonna love it. Blah de blah de blah. Then it comes out and you're like, too terrified to tell you. It's the same as what my mum's wearing.
But she didn't tell her mum either. She didn't say, "Mum, just so you know, you might want to change your outfit." Just let it unfold. Brilliant.
Yep,
Brilliant.
there we have it. Similar kind of lines. I turned up to the evening of a wedding wearing the same dress as the bridesmaids.
There you go. What, I mean, what do? You don't just get given jobs to do.
Yeah. Oh, could you just go and make sure that the bride knows that the evening food's coming out? Ah, yes. No,
But the thing is, you're turning up to the evening, so you'd look far more refreshed than the bridesmaids that have been running around all day and being
100%.
stuff. So just rock it.
This is again from another wedding coordinator. We used to use a buggy to drive people around the venue, and a very drunk mother of the bride got on the back of the buggy. The driver took off slightly at speed, and the mother of the bride fell off the back and was clinging onto the buggy for dear life. As she was being dragged along, we had to notify the driver as he hadn't even noticed.
So fun. That is so funny.
Can you imagine being like, "Oh, has anyone seen my mother-in-law? Oh yeah, she's actually over there getting dragged around by one of our venue buggies." Pardon?
Didn't she let go?
I mean, what's what? I don't know.
I mean,
No.
that's one way to change the colour of your dress because you've got the same on, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's actually made me cry.
I think it's because it's quite visual.
Yeah.
I can really imagine that happening.
And you see it in films, don't you, when they're playing golf and somebody
Yeah.
got like something caught and they're being along the golf course with the buggy.
I don't know if you've seen it, but I share it a lot with my team because the passenger who it happens to looks quite similar in the blurry video as our new chief exec. And it's basically these people. It's one of those ones that I can watch over and over again because it's so funny. It's basically this woman driving a golf buggy. This man is sat in the passenger seat. He's just sort of there holding his coffee. She comes to an emergency stop, and the man sort of puts his hand out the front to stop his fall, but on the perspex screen, which then falls forward, and then he ends up falling onto the bumper. Honestly, it is so funny that I could just watch it over and over again.
Yeah. That, I mean, that is hilarious. And it's got to be one of the sort of older members of the group too. Can't just be a bridesmaid or a groomsman. It's
No,
was it the mother?
it's mother of the bride.
Very funny.
Next. At a mutual friend's wedding, one of my friends and her partner had a huge argument during the wedding reception. She ended up throwing her £7,000 engagement ring off, got asked to leave the wedding by the groom, and then the ring was returned to her the following morning by a groomsman who had found it in the grass outside of the venue. Oh, here's your ring back. Not sure if you're still engaged or not.
Oh dear. calling us, just making a spectacle of yourself.
Can you imagine having a full-blown argument to the point where the groom's like, "I think you need to leave now?" And taking off your engagement ring, throwing it in the bushes, and then the next morning when you're like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, here's your engagement ring. I found it in the bushes. Are you still engaged? Or there you go.
Yeah, she'll be not pleased with her life decisions.
Absolutely not. So the next one is honestly one of my favourite stories I've ever heard in my life. Again, a wedding coordinator got in touch with the story. We had a regular DJ who would be booked by couples having their wedding at our venue regularly. He was late 60s, proper cheesy, and would come out into the wedding party with the mic to get people involved. Cringe. That's not even the worst part. But the older female wedding guests loved him. One night he was DJing, and one guest was obsessed with him. The dance floor ended up with just the two of them grinding each other on the dance floor, and as usual, he had brought the mic out with him, and the whole wedding party could clearly hear the entire audio to the grinding session they were watching unfold. What's actually wrong with you, hon? Get back behind that booth. Do not come out into the audience. No, no, no. For those listening, Em is in hysterical laughter.
Just, I just dropped the mic. Oh,
I think the guests probably would have hoped that he had also dropped the mic, but no. Honestly, can you imagine if that was your wedding? Everyone had cleared the dance floor for these two inappropriate, crazy people.
grunting at it. That's the best thing ever. I think I need a break.
Okay, maybe I won't tell you the next one then. Maybe I'll do. Okay, this one's pretty tame. Again, speeches. My husband's wedding speech didn't mention me once. So
I'd
there
like,
was
I'd like to thank everybody for being here on my special day. I'm so honoured that you're here to celebrate with me. Don't I look great? Oh, and thank you for all your contributions. Goodbye and good night.
basically that's what happened. Can you imagine? That's the one thing. Even if you Google, oh, what does a groom's speech have to include? The bride,
Yeah.
and you tell her how amazing she looks. That's it.
You at least do the standard thing of saying, my wife and I, and everybody goes, Ray. Not even on that.
Didn't mention me once.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Okay, this is also quite a long one.
I'll have a drink. Hang on.
You prepare yourself. I was working at a manor house venue which could sleep 33 people. The morning after this particular wedding, the housekeeping team had gone in, as usual, to clean the rooms. They found in one of the bridesmaids' drawers a giant pink dildo. However, everyone apart from the bride and groom had already checked out. The wedding coordinator had to hand the leftover item to the bride, announcing the lost property. The following day, the bride sent an email to the venue saying she had asked the occupant of the room, brackets her bridesmaid, who had said it wasn't hers and she had actually been given the lost property belonging to another wedding's guest. When I first read this, I thought,
Yeah,
I think the,
deflect.
I think the bridesmaid just doesn't want to tell you that it's her giant pink dildo.
Yeah, that's where I went. Like, she's deflecting. That's not mine. That must have been
I've
Cal.
never seen that before in my life.
Is it the one with the 3 buttons on?
I just think,
That's deflection.
but then
And
the bride's
gross.
The bride sent an email. Oh, dear venue, thank you so much for providing the lost property. However, after checking with the bridesmaid, she's confirmed it does not belong to her. What are you going to do with it? What? Why would you even take it with you? Just, I'm going to leave it here with you, and then they can come and collect it if they want. I'm not. It's my first day as a wife. I don't want to be dealing with your dildo problems.
You know, the other day we were talking about how cutting the cake is the first job of the married couple.
Oh yeah,
Cutting the cake, it's dealing with the lost property. How
outrage.
times have changed.
Also, why are you packing that? Oh, yeah, I'm so delighted to be a bridesmaid for my friend that I've known for years and years. Let me just pack, my clutch bag, my shoes, my hair products, probably gonna take like a dressing gown or something. Oh, mustn't forget my dildo, just in case the opportunity arises. Maybe it's just me, but that's not usually on my bridesmaid packing list.
No, no, especially if you've got a destination wedding, probably don't use the weight for that kind of thing.
Absolutely not. Just find a nice, is it gringo the right word? I don't know. I don't think that's the proper word. Just find a nice Hispanic or Greek waiter.
I think gringo's really offensive.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm very sorry. Moving on. Following my best friend's wedding, she told me that during the dance party in the evening, her knickers had fallen down her legs without realizing. Luckily, they remained under her massive bridal gown, and she scooted to the loo to sort herself out. By the time she got there, they were halfway down the train of the dress.
Oh my goodness.
Shouldn't even, like, whose pants are falling down these days?
I don't know.
I mean,
Not
mine aren't, but
can you like, oh, you can just like, I can just see it. It's like krypton factor. Oh, I can feel them. They're by my ankles. Okay, keep going, keep going. Oh, they've slipped off. Oh no, they must be towards the back of the dress now. Just keep going. Just keep going. Oh, get to the toilet, and they're just like hanging off the bottom of your train. Wowzers.
I honestly can't remember the last time my pants just fell down. They're not doing that these days. Since I don't know, left primary school?
Maybe put someone that didn't have very good elastic. Who knows?
Who knows?
They definitely weren't the like suck me in pants I had.
No.
They weren't going anywhere. They were actually stopping me from breathing. So
Yeah.
other problems.
Did you have any others?
I don't, but I thought I did do a little bit of Googling for embarrassing stories, and I thought we'd do a little bit of a speed round. So I'll read
Okay.
it out and we'll just get instant reactions and then I'll move on. Okay. So I once saw a groom open up the gifts and the cards during the wedding. He was then counting the money and calling people out about how much he gave them. To make matters worse, one of the friends he spoke to, probably an ex-friend now, grabbed the money he gave as a gift and left the wedding, never to be seen again.
What? When have you got time to start opening the cards? I know you want a microphone. Oh, thank you to my parents' friends, Mr. and Mrs. Hugh Smith. They've given us £150. Yes, big round of applause for the Hugh Smiths. Oh, the next card is from my work pal, Jason. 30 quid? I wish I'd been there because it would have been great.
Funny. Okay, ready?
Yep.
A wedding with my second cousin, who was the bride. The best man was absolutely wasted and was giving his speech. About halfway through, he goes to say the bride's name and loses his train of thought. So just looks at her and says, God. Hang on, sorry. Because I've laughed. He just looks at her and says, God, you're just so sexy. I wish I'd fucked you first. Sorry about the language, but
Oh, no, no, no.
that's awful, isn't it?
Just say Mrs. and whatever your friend's name is. That's a panic stations.
My dad was best man at a very low-key wedding. We went to a restaurant after, and in his speeches, he thanked the father of the bride for paying for everybody's meal. Unfortunately, it turned out that we were all paying for our own meals. The bride was mortified, and so was my dad. Thank you for paying for my meal. No, no, mate. No, you're all paying for your own. Shit.
Why didn't they just have a chat about that beforehand? I just
But that does say that couple hadn't told anybody that everybody was paying for their own meal, which isn't awful if that's the way your wedding is, but at least let people know that they're paying for their own before they arrive.
instead of thank you so much for paying for everybody on behalf of the bride and no, no, you're picking up your own bill.
Okay. The officiant, not sure if it was a priest, forgot to say you now may be seated before going through the ceremony and exchanging vows. The crowd didn't quite know what to do and just kept standing throughout the whole ceremony.
What?
Everybody just stood up.
The thing is, in those scenarios, I'm that person who's like, this isn't right. I'm just going to sit down. And once you've got one person seated, then everybody else, oh, we should be seated.
You can just like everybody looking around like,
How long is this going on for? Oh my! Can you? But why wouldn't they? Like, if you're in your ceremony, yeah. Oh, the officiant's like blah de blah de blah with my notes here. You look up. Oh, everyone's still standing. Why they don't? You may be seated. 7 hours later.
so funny. Now this one isn't very funny, but I don't really know where it stands on the funny meter, so
Okay.
and we'll see what your reaction is. After the ceremony, everyone got up except for one old frail looking lady, who it transpired had passed away. The reception was rather subdued. I mean, what do you do? Do you like
I
when
don't know.
you've got any plan? Oh yeah, I think Nan might die.
If she's gonna die, it's probably best she doesn't come. Just saying.
Um,
But unexpected death does happen. I don't know, evacuate and go and I'll just be like, well, I'm gonna have to cancel this. We're gonna have to come back another day. I'm not
I
cutting the cake with my grandmother dead over there in the corner.
know.
But do you then move her? Like, what do you do? You obviously call the ambulance, but then just put like a napkin over her face.
And that's good.
I don't know.
I mean, if they're in a church, they could just go straight on and have a ceremony for her.
So first of all, we're going to do the wedding ceremony. A slight change in plans after. We're going to hold an immediate burial. Oh, it's a great idea. Well, we've got you, Vicar. Could you just say a few words on behalf of my nan, who's just actually passed away on that pew down there?
Well, we're paying for your time.
You're on the clock, on the job. Absolutely not. I don't know. I'll just probably walk out again. Ignore and avoid.
One of the groomsmen was dancing with the maid of honour, and they did a dip manoeuvre. The problem with this was being that the maid of honour's dress was strapless and her boobs had recently swelled up. as she was pregnant. So that manoeuvre made them pop right out the top of her dress in front of the whole dance floor.
Can you imagine if your boobs came out?
Like popped out, and they're all big and swollen.
I've never experienced that myself, but however, I don't know. No one's going to forget that. Nobody will ever let you forget that.
I know. This one is, I'm not sure whether to believe this or not, because this is just mental. The bride's older brother gave a speech where he talked about how he changed her diaper when she was a baby. He then told the groom that because of this, he'd seen her first.
Oh, no.
Isn't it? Why would that even come into your psyche?
That's her blood relative.
Yep.
Are these real people, or is this like a horror film?
Horror film, I think. Right, this is the last one. Went to a wedding where the first kiss as husband and wife was literally their first kiss. She went in for a quick peck, and he went in for the dog licking the bowl clean style kiss. She was not happy, and it ended very messily.
No. I mean, first of all, you discuss what the plan is there, because it's not like, surprise, you may now kiss your bride. It's not a surprise. We know it's all coming. We've all seen the movie. It happens every time. It
I know.
must have been like a joke. You know
I
how
think he's
husbands.
absolutely, you know, chomping at the bit to get a bit.
No. That must have been some sort of like wife wind up. Ah, we did talk about it, but
I'm gonna do it this way. So
no,
that's what the internet had to offer.
there's no other explanation for that. Well, the internet is a terrifying place.
It really,
Um, that's it for this weekend.
I'm literally sweaty.
I'm really hot.
I mean, it's hot it's a kind of a really hot week that we're recording this, so it's hot in the house anyway, but that has just made me even more sweaty.
Yeah. If you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast news, follow our Instagram account at the I Do Crew Podcast. Send us your dilemmas or questions or embarrassing moments because we love to hear them. Next week, we're talking all things wedding catering and cake. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
You've been listening to the I Do Crew podcast with Jen and Emma. Keep up to date with our podcast news by following our I Do Crew podcast Instagram account. Thanks for listening.